how does deja vu work?
So deja vu is, it's actually one of these things. I think that some of the surveys suggest that like 75% of people report having a deja vu experience one time or another. I don't know where that came from, but I've polled people in my class and most of them say they've experienced deja vu. It's this kind of sense that I've experienced this moment sometime before. I've been here before. And actually, there's all sorts of variants of this. The French have all sorts of names for various versions of this. Jamais vu, parlez-vous, I don't know, whatever. It's like all these different vus.
Yeah.
But deja vu is the sense that it can be like almost disturbing, intense sense of familiarity. So there was a researcher named Wilder Penfield. Actually, this goes back even earlier to some of the earliest, like Hewlings Jackson was this neurologist who who did a lot of the early characterizations of epilepsy. And one of the things he notices in epilepsy patients, some group of them, right before they would get a seizure, they would have this intense sense of deja vu. So it's this artificial sense of familiarity. It's a sense of having a memory that's not there, right? And so what was happening was there was electrical activity in certain parts of these brains. And so this guy Penfield later on, when he was trying to look for how do we map out the brain to figure out which parts we want to remove and which parts don't we, he would stimulate parts of the temporal lobes of the brain and find you could elicit the sense of deja vu. Sometimes you'd actually get a memory that a person would re-experience just from electrically stimulating some parts. Sometimes, though, they just have this intense feeling of being somewhere before. And so one theory, which I really like, is that in higher order areas of the brain, they're integrating from many, many different sources of input. What happens is that they're tuning themselves up every time you process a similar input, right? And so that allows you to just get this kind of a fluent sense that I'm very familiar. You're very familiar with this place, right? And so just being here, you're not going to be moving your eyes all over the place because you kind of have an idea of where everything is. And that fluency gives you a sense of like, I'm here. Now I wake up in my hotel room and I have this very unfamiliar sense of where I am, right? But, there's a great set of studies done by Ann Cleary at Colorado State where she created these virtual reality environments. And we'll go back to the metaverse. Imagine you go through a virtual museum, right? And then she would put people in virtual reality and have them go through a virtual arcade. But the map of the two places was exactly the same. She just put different skins on them. So one looks different than the other, but they've got same landmarks and same places, same objects, same everything, but carpeting, colors, theme, everything's different. People will often not have any conscious idea that the two are the same, but they could report this very intense sense of deja vu. So it's like a partial match that's eliciting this kind of a sense of familiarity. And that's why, in patients who have epilepsy that affects memory, you get this artificial sense of familiarity that happens. And so we think that, and again, this is just one theory amongst many, but we think we get a little bit of that feeling. It's not enough to necessarily give you deja vu, even for very mundane things, right? So it's like if I tell you the word rutabaga, your brain's going to work a little bit harder to catch it than if I give you a word like apple, right? And that's because you hear apple a lot. So your brain's very tuned up to process it efficiently, but rutabaga takes a little bit longer and more intense. And you can actually see a difference in brain activity in areas in the temporal lobe when you hear a word just based on how frequent it is in the English language. So we think it's tied to this basically a byproduct of our mechanism of just learning, doing this error-driven learning as we go through life to become better and better and better to process things more and more efficiently.
So I guess deja vu is just an extra elevated stuff coming together, firing for this artificial memory as if it's the real memory. Why does it feel so intense?
Well, it doesn't happen all the time, but I think what may be happening is it's a partial match to something that we have, and it's not enough to trigger that sense of, that ability to pull together all the pieces, but it's a close enough match to give you that intense sense of familiarity without the recollection of exactly what happened when.